permanent. I think those were, I mean, less than 20,000, so, but both staff as well as the engineer have several concerns with speed humps. And I'll tell you, at the neighborhood meeting, there was strong opinions on both ends for speed humps.
I heard.
And I won't get into
Yeah.
that, but
No, I'm
that's a
just
very strong
asking.
opinion.
Just to see if we can lower that somewhat, because I think the 20,000 is referring to that traffic kind of circle, or that's the highest, the higher end one. I don't feel comfortable budgeting for that with just one meeting with the public at this time. I'd like to see that plan developed a little more, so potentially I don't want, what happens sometimes if you put the money in there, then you start budgeting around, you start designing around it. I really don't, I want to make sure that that's the right solution before we start putting money in towards it. We did recommend speed humps for Wilson Drive, and we haven't ruled that out yet, so I don't maybe the two engineers need to speak to them.
Recommended speed bumps?
for Wilson Drive.
The speed tables.
Oh, speed tables, okay.
Well, that requires more extensive reconstruction of the roadway. There's a lot of other things you could do over there, from putting bump outs in and, kind of forcing narrowing the road. What we were talking about doing was this island, because it's relatively inexpensive. Wilson Drive is fairly new. The last thing we want to do is tear that all out and start over again, reconstructing it on a new road. So this is something we could put into the middle of the existing road, and what happens is you have no parking there, and it forces the cars to swing out a bit to go around it. The purpose, of course, is to slow the traffic down. There will be a sign or something in the middle, and the idea is to alert drivers that there's an obstacle ahead. That forces them to slow down. It probably isn't going to reduce volume dramatically, but it is something, material that we can do to alter the roadway, and that, along with striping, will have some impact on drivers as they go through.
You're talking Wilson now?
Wilson.
Morris.
Morris, I'm sorry.
Morris.
I'm sorry.
I just feel like it's a conceptual.
But this is the Morris Menlo corridor, and Morris, this was one of the things that we could do. Clark Dietz had some other suggestions, but they were very expensive and involved substantial reconstruction of the roadway.
Which may make sense, because we haven't had a debate or deliberation on this.
Tyler, do you want to speak?
So if you were to go down that path, we're then looking at a 2019 project, and I'll tell you, and Trustee Backers can speak to this because she was at the meeting, I think a lot of residents would like some action taken in 2018. I think if we were to have a response saying we're not going to include anything in the capital budget until 2019, there would be some very...
I didn't say nothing. I just think that, we went with the circle, and we cost that out and put the 20,000 in here, and I just don't feel comfortable picking the cost of an alternative that hasn't been decided.
It's a conservative estimate, so I mean, once we get the plans done, I mean, it might be a reduced amount. That's kind of giving us a...
Of that circle? So we've decided on the circle?
No, we haven't decided on a circle, but what we're saying, we don't see a scenario that we would go in excess of 20,000. So that's kind of a limit for us that we can work with based on the options that are kind of being considered right now.
Are you recommending the 20,000?
Yeah.
Yes.
And that is something that we put in a letter, which I think I need to forward to all of you. I want to make sure you all have it, the letter that I sent to the residents last week. So I will do that tomorrow morning. But that's one thing that we mentioned, was we were going to consider putting some modification funds for a 2018 summer project.
Okay, I think I could, I could be persuaded by staff's recommendation. My only request is that we don't budget for the money and then all of a sudden start putting speed signs, these temporary ones that flash and tell you your speed just because we have the money there. I just want to be sure that...
These are for physical modifications,
Okay.
so yeah, it would not be for signage.
We've already
The
done
signs are
it.
there already.
Yes, that's already been done. But yes, if you would leave the 20,000 in, obviously, we have to come back to you to approve a specific expenditure contract anyway. So if something changes between now and then, but this didn't come out of the air. Clark Dietz did a pretty detailed analysis.
I read it.
And they described a number of these, physical modifications, and again, most of them were very expensive, resulted in substantial reconstruction of the new road. This was something relatively cheap and easy, high visibility. We are, keeping the good faith with the residents. We're trying to help them with their traffic issues, and so that's why it's in the recommendation.
Other comments?
I just want to say, I mean, they've had increasing traffic on Morris, probably related to issues along Capitol and Oakland. I mean, solving traffic one place, creating a problem in traffic one place, just moves it to another place. So doing this on Morris, we'll probably move it somewhere else, but, there isn't really an option on that side of town. But it's a little, making these ad hoc issues on both parking and on traffic, we're just squeezing the balloon and moving things from one place to another in the village, and I wish we had a little more comprehensive view of what we were doing.
Well, we are trying to move the traffic back onto Capitol and Oakland, or Oakland and Capitol, depending on your direction of travel. So the purpose of these things, including some signage changes, is precisely to try to move the traffic back onto the arterials
Yeah,
and get them off the major.
the solutions are not just for Morris and Menlo, there's other things, and that's why I want to include the letter for you. You'll see that there's other proposals that we have to make the traffic flow more easily when you're going on Capitol and Oakland. So let me send that to you and you can take a look at that.
And that was discussed at the meeting as well.
Like left turn allowed?
Yeah.
So is this a general bonding or is this levy?
This is levy, it's not big enough to
I'm
be
supportive
bonded.
of, I am too, just anything that can help slow the traffic in that neighborhood.
Are we moving on
Right, yeah.
Are we,
Moving on,
So where does that, can we see what it
Yeah.
does?
what do we do?
37.
so, again, instead of this, I'll just give you the magic,
Yeah, I guess.
1.68.
Oh, I'm gonna go back down to 1.5.
The next item is an item staff has added, street marking has been eroding the funds available for contracted road maintenance on page 126. Staff recommendation that since street marking itself does not improve the surface of the road, such as crack filling or large area patching, that we make that a separate line item in the operations budget for street marking so that we can see what we're doing for street marking. There's also some additional proposals for additional marking on some of the roadways in the village, so that number really allows the $100,000 in the street and alley budget on page 126 to be used for maintenance efforts, not just street marking.
But
So
you're
that's-
suggesting adding $20,000.
Right, you're not shifting it.
That's correct.
That's staff's initial suggestion.
So every time we bring this up, I brought this up many times, every time we approve something this year that was a street marking, I consistently asked the same question to Leanne, and that was, where would this money come from? And she consistently told me they have it in the budget. And so even up to, and you've been there, so I understand. So what I would like, which really makes me a little upset, to say that all the way up to about 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, including for Wilson and Oakland, and all the times I've asked her, and then to turn around and ask for $20,000 more. I get why, and that's why I've been asking the question. So what I would like to do or propose is that we consider putting $20,000 from the existing $100,000 budget, which she said was covering it. And if we go over next year, we add, and we see how much street markings really are costing us, because I do believe they are rising every year. So I do value that
Right.
separation, but as of 3 weeks ago, we had enough money to cover all the decisions that have been made to date, which include Oakland, Wilson was in there, and so I don't know what the extra $20,000 is for, unless we're making some more new decisions on street striping. And if it goes over, then next year we can see how much it really is costing us.
So I'm partially responsible for this one, so I wouldn't say it's, you know, Leanne was part of the conversation, but, I mean, one of the other, once again, you'll get the letter, but one of the other things that's been talked about with Morrison Menlo is putting in some lines to create a traffic calming effect.
And that's not covered in the extra 20,000 we just.
So
budgeted?
as you know, her budget, she has a $100,000 budget, and her talking point has been, she can always make it happen. It's just that for doing the striping and that's less for the general maintenance.
I understand.
So,
Yeah,
But we-
So-
but we just put 20,000 in for the Morse. And then-
those are for physical modifications, so that's more like, we're talking about actual, you know, traffic tables or islands. Those are actual,
We'll put some of it towards striping.
I think fair comment. This is late in the process of introducing a new number. I think it, for the most part, is warranted. This line item has not been increased in years. And costs continue to go up for all of the maintenance that they do, not just striping. I think what we should do this year is leave it alone and let them come back next year in the normal beginning of the proposed budget, itemize exactly what they're anticipating spending for the year and break it down for you to show you what their appropriations need is.
Yeah. and I'm okay with that too. I want this to be more of, you know, this is more of an alert education moment that, yeah, there are a lot of things that we have been adding, and it's something that we need to have on our radar as we talk about the budget in future years.
So I think, fair enough, we can, Mike, unless you want to do more with it,
No,
we can
I'd say
move on
we
and we'll,
split it out.
they'll take
Separate
the
line
tractor.
item for marking,
Yeah,
20,000.
Mark?
Well, I would support at least the initial proposal, and that is, let's keep our maintenance and repairs, let's reflect that at 80,000, so we're know we're committing to that, and move 20,000 from that line item into the operations for street marking. It'll help us judge that, it'll be much more transparent, we'll see where that line item pops. It'll be a no impact to the levy, and then again, we'll have much more time to look at that, plus as additional plans develop over the next year.
What's he going to do though, lowering that item from 80 to 60?
From 100 to 80.
It's 180 instead of
Well, the
20.
street marking's already coming out of there.
Just the same.
I mean, that's,
There's more stuff that
That's-
goes on.
quite honestly, the higher priority item.
Okay.
So whatever we spend on street marking is less maintenance. It's just the way it ends up working. So,
Is he going to give us enough to take care of those cracks and the longitudinal cracks?
The 80,000.
That's what's in there, right?
Yeah, our maintenance plan to preserve all the streets
the
that we've
80,000.
invested all this.
that's the
That's
80,000.
the 80,000,
Yeah.
the 20,000's
Yeah.
always been, I mean, around that, it's growing, I give you that. But we've still always, 100,000 done both.
So however you want to list in the budget, I think we're fine with.
So
Talk to
it's-
Leanne, I, you know,
Is
make a
this-
motion
I
that.
like the idea of separating.
Yes.
Okay,
It's
we can do that.
All right.
And then they'll come back. I'm sure you're gonna see a need. This is, you know, you can't leave the budget exactly the same forever. Expect them to continue to produce the same amount of work,
Moving on.
but it'll be back.
And
Okay.
I do know that we have been increasing the amount of striping that we
Oh,
do,
yeah.
and which I support, it's
Yeah.
necessary, so.
Page 126 and 166, again, 166 being really the relevant page. Proposal was put forth to do some landscape design work for a couple of our parks. So it was put on the list for additional discussion.
I think we kind of voted to take, well, not voted, but we were under, we had suggested taking that out
Taking that
for this
out.
year.
Yeah, I think we can probably take it out for this year. It's in the early stages of kind of thinking through what they would want. And by taking it out, it'll balance out the Morse Drive, all the alterations.
I was gonna say, you could blame it
Yeah,
on Morris.
we'll just try.
Gotta deal with Morris.
I think they need to,
Well,
there may be some additional discussion in the committee.
And it could give us some time to look for some grant money and some.
Yeah, absolutely, or some-
Instead of just having $20,000.
Yeah,
I'm gonna suggest, our parks are very, very nice, and rather than put 20,000 into a plan, that buys a lot of landscaping. Your main horticulturalist that maintains this stuff is retiring, someone new is coming in. You might wanna have them take a look,
yeah.
they may be able to work on
Is
some
that the
plans
general
in-house.
feel of the group?
Yeah, and I just want to add that we're putting a lot of green infrastructure into Wilson Drive this budget cycle, so it probably makes sense to defer at this moment.
So is that's the last item, Mark, that
No.
impacts the levy? That impacts the levy?
I just
Not
wanted to say
necessarily.
on Triangle Park, Atwater, I would agree, but Triangle Park, I drive by there every day, and there is that flagpole kind of right in the middle of it, and, but I don't know that we need a landscape study to talk about moving that, but I am supportive of relocating that maybe just a little bit back, so there's more usable space in that park.
You wanna do the levy real quick, give everybody the final